Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Darren Bowden. I'm the CEO of Metals Exploration, and here to just give you an outline of some of the updates of what's happened in our business over the last year since I last talked to Matt. We're a gold producer in the Philippines, listed on AIM. MTL is our ticker, and we've just recently acquired the Condor gold assets in Nicaragua to assist with our growth strategy and to move us forward into the next generation of our business.
Like Darren, great to see you. I haven't seen you for a long time, since almost the beginning of 2024. Good year for you guys. Nice response in the share price to your activity. What did you make of 2024? Was it easy going?
Look, there's a lot of ups and downs in 2024. I think one of the biggest things that we did during 2024 was the buyback of one of the major shareholders. There were some agreements that sat across the top of the board, which was stifling the board's opportunity to look at growth strategies. And with the approval of the process that he had in place, the removal of those agreements and shareholders allowed the board to open their vision, and it moved us forward very quickly to a new acquisition of the Condor assets in Nicaragua, which gives us that growth profile we've been looking for.
Okay, well, look, I want to remind people, because it's been a while since we spoke, I want to remind people of your business plan, the kind of strategy, the growth strategy, if you were. There's a kind of few components there. We talked about it last time out, but since then you obviously, advanced a few of those. So let's start with Runruno and what's happening there, because you're sort of coming to an end of life situation in the Philippines, which was a kind of cause for concern. So what have you done to change that, or indeed move on from that?
So Runruno is pillar one of our strategy. It was getting the performance to optimizing performance, and we're there. 2024 results, over 90% average recovery, 96 million free cash on a strong gold price, 83,500 ounces produced, which beat guidance. The team did a great job, and it has absolutely set the base for our pillar one. The benefit we've looked over last year is we've actually found a near mine target that could look at an extension to the mine life of Runruno. Currently, life of Runruno is 2026, and this near mine target could extend that 3, 5, 10 years, depending on what side, where it ends up.
Okay, well, let's talk about that in a second. Let's look at the balance sheet. So you obviously did a lot to kind of clean up the balance sheet. So where are you financially before we talk about VMSs, etc.?
Yeah, a very strong position. We zero debt. Debt's fully drawn down. When I say that, we did take a small amount of debt for the Condor purchase, but that is paid off at the end of January. So really, I'll say we're debt free. It was only $5-6 million, so it wasn't a big number. So we're in a position where we're building cash, we're building that war chest we talked about, and we're looking to deploy that war chest into the Nicaraguan asset, which is construction ready. And, to maintain cash flow at the end of 2026, that asset will be up and running, producing gold. So, we will maintain our balance sheet and keep growing the business and the balance sheet on the back of that.
Okay, so you're producing cash. I mean, just so we can remind people, what you're producing on average on a quarterly basis, because there's two things you potentially needing to finance here. One is obviously, Condor Gold is ready to go, tied up in a little bow. But you've also got, just taking the Philippines, a potential life extension with this kind of VMS target of if it adds 3-5 years. That's obviously good news, but that'll need financing. So can you sort of talk about the priorities in terms of allocation of capital, and how much have you got to allocate?
Yeah, so if we look at we're generating about 25 million free cash a quarter, 96, just under 97 million for the year, and that's at our average gold price over that year was about 2,400. So there's some upside in that. We will generate somewhere around 170 million to 180 million free cash over the next couple of years. And on that, the Condor assets, we're looking at a capitalization of those assets around 110 to 120. So that still gives us enough free cash to move forward on the exploration and the growth of those other projects. The benefit of the resource that we're talking about, as you mentioned, it is a VMS. It's at surface. The footprint we've seen so far, and there's a number of small areas outside of the main footprint. Main footprint's about 700 by 200, and the grades are, we're talking, we've seen gold grades over 15 grams, we're seeing copper grades up around the 7%, and this is across the total length of that strike. So the numbers are good. It's now drill ready with all the mapping and the work that's been done by the team. So we don't need a lot of drilling to bring that, and deep drilling to bring that thing into a resource-ready basis for operation.
Okay, so resource ready is one thing, mining license and all the things that accompany that, environmental, etc. And I guess you won't need to, submit plans for, building a processing plant, etc. You'll just be the current infrastructure. So in terms of timeline, money sounds good, but in terms of timeline, when would you be in a position to actually sort of add that additional feed through the current infrastructure?
Yeah, it's a valid point. The area is actually an old mining lease. So it has that outcome has been there before. So the environmental permitting should be significantly faster than you would normally see in a greenfields operation. So the infrastructure's there. It is close to mine. It's an old pit which we're basically extending and looking at extensions too. So, once we start the drilling process, we should be able to start the permitting process very quickly off the back of some initial drill areas, because in the Philippines, you don't have to have a significant resource statement before you can actually get a mining lease, especially if there's already been pre-existing operations in that area. So I think while we're looking at a Q1 2027 for Runruno to finish with the existing ore body, there is absolutely opportunity within a very short time frame to start the new mine up if it pans out the way the team think it is. So we're looking at Condor is we're currently looking at a 1.4 million tonne a year strategy there. We've actually bought a secondhand plant so we can move that faster into operation. We're looking at 18-month to 24-month strategy there to get that up and running. And if we've got that up and running there at 1.4 million, you're looking at around about 130 to 150,000 ounces a year. So it's 50% bigger than what we're currently doing. You're looking at about a 900 to 1,000 all-in sustaining costs. So at the current gold price, it does very well. And within 6 months beyond that, we have a second operation, which is bringing on the near mine resources into Runruno. If we're talking again mid-2027, I'm hoping I'm going to be telling you we have 2 operating mines.
I hope we stick more regularly than that, but there we go. Let's look at risk mitigation and kind of risk profiles, right? So perception, Nicaragua, tricky place to do business, right? Perception. What is it? What's the reality on the ground? Because have you operated in country before? And what are the things that you're coming up against? Because you've kind of got an open pit and you've got underground mining going on there. Who's the team that's actually going to manage this? And tell us more about how you what are the things you're looking at to mitigate that risk?
Yeah, but look, I have been in Nicaragua before. I haven't worked there significantly, but I've looked at other operations back in a previous life. I have 17 years in South America. I've done Chile, Peru, Honduras, Mexico, Colombia, Dominican Republic. I know the area. I know the people. I speak fluent Spanish. My team that's been in those other operations with me have all rejoined me. So I've actually got a Spanish-ready team already on the ground. The GM's he's starting in on the 1st of April. The country manager, who's been with me for a long time, he's an ex-Mountie. He's done diplomatic missions to Nicaragua through the Canadian embassy. Again, already has ties in that country as well. And you talk about countries. Once you get internally to countries, you start to understand them a little better. Nicaragua is actually fundamentally stable. Do we sit there and say it has the best human rights records in the world? No. That's there are other things, but from an operating point of view and from a commercial point of view, it is stable. There's 3 operating international gold companies already running mining businesses. They already have been there for quite a few years and operate on a very stable platform there. When I was there, I've met some of the key officials. I do see that this has, and my team have already done that as well. I do see that Nicaragua is a place that can be operated when you have a contract to perform to.
Okay, I'm going to stick with risk because there's mining is about risk mitigation every day of the week, right? So you obviously that's a kind of a new setup, new jurisdiction, new team, etc. And we're also seeing things do go wrong in country. We're seeing illegal miners attacking people in Peru. All sorts of situations happen. So in terms of that, getting that balance between Runruno, which is producing the cash, obviously bringing on this BMS target, how much effort are you going to continue to expend in the Philippines? Will you be looking for additional, whether it be BMS or other type targets, kind of keep feeding this infrastructure around you? What are the opportunities there should the Nicaragua project take a little bit longer than you hope?
Yeah, we've got two other the Abra project, which was YMC purchased by Metals Exploration in August, has at least two significant targets which we have been working on. We've done some press releases on these targets as well. One's a very large copper target. The other is a copper gold target. And when I say large, I'm talking one of the largest footprints I've seen. It's significant at surface as well, which is great. I love the Philippines for the simple reason it's one of the highest potential, most underexplored countries in this region. And we know the potential throughout this region. When you look at PNG, you look at Indonesia, you look at that, the Ring of Fire, as they call it. We are on that Ring of Fire, and the potential is significant. And we've taken up some of those aspects of the opportunities we do see in the Philippines. We talked about that last time. For me, that's pillar 4 for us. That's our longer term strategy, bringing those type of assets online after we have 2, if not 3, operating assets as we go forward. Talk about risk in construction, risk in delivery. It's all about time. And that's why I felt that the opportunity when it came up to purchase a secondhand asset that absolutely matches the design performance we were looking for in Nicaragua was a great idea. Why? Because we just crashed the schedule. We've saved 6 months and de-risked all of the long lead items. We still have 2 key risks that we know we're going to have to deal with. One is power. The power supply will need some work. The government owns that. The government manages that, and it will be working with the government to have that online in the right time frame. That's going to be one of our risks we're going to be working the government with. And the other one's, as always, the TSF, the tailings storage facility.
Okay. We know Mark Child extremely well, and been listening to the Condor gold story for a few years. Really, it's going to struggle to kind of get the valuations that perhaps a profile like this might in another jurisdiction. There were a few people sniffing around. You've won it, and maybe you've explained maybe some of the rationales of why this makes a lot of sense for you, in the sense that you know South America well, and you've been able to bring a team in here. But others were kind of fearful of the Nicaragua factor. So can you maybe expand on the rationale as to why this works for you, and maybe why you feel you've got a good profile project out to your portfolio?
Yeah, look, I suppose I've been in developing countries for 25 years, and they are about one thing: good, strong relationships, whether they're government, whether they're commercial, whether they're private. And while we see Nicaragua as, and you can see it from the outside, as a country of risk, you see the same in Colombia, you see the same in Honduras, you see the same in Mexico, for example. Yet Mexico has an extremely strong mining industry. From my point of view, with the team that I'm being able to deploy there, with the in-country opportunity that this brings, and as you say, it is it's a very nice little resource. The grades at surface are very good. You're looking at mining grades of north of 3 grams a tonne, and you don't get that in open cuts in pretty well anywhere. So the opportunity, your risk-reward profile is definitely leaning to a net positive. I do, and I'd like to thank Mark for the amount of work he's done in country, because he has built those relationships over the last 12 to 15 years. There is an absolute, very much a sense of acceptance for the company, for the brand name in country, and really they're just looking forward to us starting that construction. That's what we've heard. That's what our team's heard on the ground. When are you going to start? And I think that is something that Mark's built over time, and something that is generating it's generating an impetus for us to move forward.
Right. So what do you think the market's going to actually give you credit for? Because having those relationships in country and life going swimmingly in country is great for you operationally, but in terms of getting that reaction back out in the market, clearly you'll need some time to get and get this built out, and then into production and into cash flow. In the meantime, you're going to be taking your existing cash flow, investing it in here, hopefully, because that means it's non-dilutive to your shareholders. But they still kind of got that Nicaraguan factor or perception with the markets say. So what do you think people should be looking at and should be crediting you for? Is it literally just going to be cash to the bottom line?
Look, I right now it'll be about building credibility. And that's the thing. I suppose Condor Gold has sat there for the last 5 years talking about it's going into construction. Okay, we go into construction, we build the credibility, we show that the infrastructure is coming into construction on the ground. I think in a year's time, we have this conversation again, you're going to be saying, when are you starting? Rather than, well, how's it all going? Because I think right now it's a time for us to consolidate, to use the cash flow we've got in to prove that we can operate there in terms of getting that construction started. And while the market might, take some up or down, I'm actually, at this stage, I'm excited about the opportunity we have to build that credibility. So, and I've always said that. I said that about the Philippines. We needed to build credibility here. We've done that. We will do the same thing in Nicaragua. And in a year's time, when you see that credibility is on the ground, that's when the market will react. They'll know the bottom line's going to keep growing. They'll know that the balance sheet is moving forward in the right direction. And I think while right now it's like, okay, let's wait and see, I think, Matt, in a year's time, let's have this conversation again. I'd love to see my share price jump on the back of this. I'd love to see the NPAV, because we believe that the NPV of the project under the current structure we're looking at is about 600 million. I'd love to see that reflect in the share price. If it doesn't reflect straight away, I'm okay with that. I've got a very strong shareholder base there following me, and I think with the fact that we've got to build that credibility, I think consolidation of the asset and that credibility over the next year is going to be critical.
But you kind of have that credibility in the Philippines in terms of operationally. Well, one, build, operation, producing cash, right? You had that, but you weren't getting that kind of reaction for many, quite a few years. So moving sideways. I don't know if you're going to say, well, that was a factor of the markets, or factor of the Philippines, people don't understand it, or maybe it wasn't a big enough project to be of interest. So you were producing cash, but not getting the reaction in the market. It started kind of creep up in 23 and certainly reacted really, really well, certainly towards the end of 24. So markets reacting to credibility, I'm not sure if that always is the case. So how do you view something like this, which might be in a nice additional, well, it might pick up from where the Philippines revenue drops off. What do you do with that cash, which can more than just show credibility of building and operating in country? Do you need to think about M&A outside of these kind of slightly, I guess, difficult jurisdictions?
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, definitely. I don't disagree. And I definitely think that is an opportunity for us in 12 to 18 months' time. It's not an opportunity for us now. And I get that, and I'm okay with that, because I think, as you say, it took the market a while to recognise the credibility that we have built in the Philippines. It might take a little while for the recognition of that to come in South America as well, but I do believe it'll come quicker because the team is already delivering. Once that does happen, your point's valid. What is the next part of our growth strategy? We have, if we do tie down the Runruno asset and are able to move that forward, we have 2 operating assets. Where is the next target? And at this stage, I can't give you that answer. I don't know what the market's going to look like in 18 months' time. I don't know what's going to be on the market, viable or available. And all of those things will come into play. But the one thing I can say, I've got a very strong board who are very behind the opportunity of growth in our share price, of growth in our balance sheet, of pushing this company through. As I've said, one of the key metrics I've got within my sights is a FTSE listing 2028. We're not going to be able to do that unless we're a $500 million company. So we have that in everybody's mind, and our strategy to get to that, will evolve, will be flexible, but will include M&A. There's zero doubt about that.
Okay, and let's look at the kind of let's look at the deal, right? I always think if you buy something at the right price, it makes such a difference. And obviously, with the cash flowing, then you there is no kind of issue around the cost of capital to actually get things moving. So the deal structure, I mean, personally, I think you got an absolute steal here, absolute steal. So can you remind us of the terms of the deal and anything else that you think is pertinent to value that you picked up here?
Yeah, look, the deal structure is pretty simple. There's 2 parts to it. There was basically a cash share exchange at 33p, which amounted to just over £60 million. And then there's what's called a CVR, which is a delayed payment for increased resources in the next 5 years, which will amount to another 7p. And so it's £28 million on top of that. I think the total deal ended up about a £91 million deal. And as you say, we're looking at an asset that's probably right now sitting on 2.3 million ounces at nearly 4 grams. It is probably a 5 million ounce region. There's no doubt about that from what I've seen. Mark hasn't had the money to extend his exploration even in the closer areas. All of those things we're bringing to the table. And that extension will happen very quickly. So, we're looking right now, we can consolidate a 10-year schedule on what we see. We believe there's at least 14 years with the small amount of drilling we need to do to bring that up to 14 years. I think this is a 20-year asset, and I think we can go from 1.4 maybe up to higher tonnages as well. It really is a nice property, and I think it is undervalued. It has significant upside. And I think we were very lucky that, the arbitrage between explorers and operators right now fell in our favour. And I think once it becomes an operation, our cash generation, we're looking at the gold price holds where it is. Our cash generation will be over 150 million a year. We will be an operation that can, or a business that can actually not turn out cash, but look at those growth opportunities with real, with the real microscope and take a good look. I'm with you though. You don't just buy something for something's sake. That's not the way we should do business. It's got to be the right opportunity with the right value creation for our shareholders, and to induce that growth plan that matches where we want to be in the future. So I think right now, flexible on what that looks like in 18 months' time, but definitely we have our sights out there on that horizon to do something, especially if the growth at Runruno can be extended by 5 years or so. That'll give us an absolute opportunity to grow this business.
I think sometimes it's the reverse is true. Sometimes the asset needs the right management team to make it work.
A lot of the time.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
What I mean? We've seen
very much
too many.
Yeah. Makes a big difference. No doubt about it.
Like Darren, I mean that's kind of. I think let's stick with that kind of near-term growth plan, and I guess we've got a better sense of how the money flows and what it's allocated to, and that kind of current dual track that you've got going on, and we'll leave the future to the future with YMC, etc. so we better understand that maybe on the next call. Appreciate your time today. Nice update. Nice 2024 for you guys. Look forward to seeing more news on Condor and Runruno and how things progress in 2025.
Terrific.
Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. Great talking to you.